perhaps reminded by Docs that it's a pretty good idea to maybe take a drink. And he blasts by the Lotto Belisol rider without a care in the world. Well, De Luca hasn't managed to convert all this activity into a stage win yet in this year's Giro d'Italia, and the Lampre Merida squad keeping Scarponi and Niemitz out of trouble. And Cavendish is gone south. We can't see him in there at the moment, can't see any of his teammates either, so clearly he's dropping back through the bunch. Top of the climb comes with 16 kilometres to go, so he's got an awful lot of it left if he's to survive. De Luca hasn't really got big advantage, Sean, has he?
No, it's difficult because we can see the Lampre Merida team is setting a pace. There's 3, 4, then 5 of them maybe on the front of the group at the moment, and it's really difficult for a rider to pull any advantage out here when the peloton, is set on pushing on quite strong, and Lampre are doing that at the moment, and De Luca's 15 seconds out of advantage maybe, but it's going to be a difficult one, and he's still a long ways from the summit because it's 20.4 kilometres still to go. The summit is at 16.1 kilometres. Unless he can keep on working at it and pull a bit more out, he needs to get to the summit with at least 25-30 seconds to have any possibility of going on to the finish and having a go for state victory.
So Luke Durbridge is mopped up by the peloton, and he'll just stay to the left, drop like it's the Lampre Merida squad that are setting the agenda, setting the pace on this Crosara climb. Meanwhile, Danilo De Luca has a very narrow advantage, ploughing on alone, chasing the solo leader Rubiano, who has, well, about half a minute to the Lampre-led peloton, with Mark Cavendish struggling. Oh, and Mark Cavendish is absolutely killing himself. He's going past riders, he's well up there. So this is pretty good performance by Mark Cavendish. Can he make it last for another 4 kilometres? He just slipped out of shot as we get closer to the top. Did Tifosi get more and more animated? And don't touch the riders, let them do their own thing. That'll be a source of irritation. It won't have been any help, of course, to Rubiano. There was a time in the Giro d'Italia when certain riders were slingshot up the hills, but these are different days, and it's important to respect them as Rubiano suffers towards the top of this climb. Another 3k to go.
It's a long way. Cavendish is good at the moment, suffering a lot of movement on the bike, but he's battling quite well, and it's interesting to see. But 3 kilometres, it's a long way to the summit. But I think it gets a little bit easier as we get further up. We did see the real difficult part where it was, very, very high percentage, and he is, putting in a great battle. As we can see, some of the other sprinters as well, I think a bit further back there, but the group is getting smaller as we go further up the climb.
Well, the last 1.5 kilometres at 3.1%, so suffer on, Mark, because it's still possible for you. Oscar Gatto is a few lengths behind. Cavendish is absolutely killing himself to try and stay. This is not what he's good at, and he's dropping further back, and he's looking over his shoulder saying, is there anyone here that can close the gap, that can come around him? And he is not exactly surrounded by Amiga Pharma Quick-Step riders, and he's getting frustrated. The body language isn't good at the moment.
He's running out of power. We can see that he's just struggling to keep it going, and we can see that just up ahead there's gaps appearing, and he's not going to make it with this group. At this point, when you lose contact, then the gap is going to be at least 40-50 seconds at the summit.
3.1% for the last 1.3 kilometres of this climb, but he hasn't quite got to that level yet. It's about 6% at the moment, according to our road book. And Mark Cavendish could tell you all about that if he was able to speak. Meanwhile, De Luca up front looks like he's going to get to Rubiano before the summit. Scarponi happy to set a steady tempo. Visconti for the Movistar team strikes out. Could they make it a hat-trick of victories? And he's not a threat overall. So Visconti looks to try and establish an advantage and get up to these two riders. De Luca now joins Rubiano. Will Rubiano have anything left to help him with? Visconti, what is his advantage? Foreshortened, of course, by the camera. He's certainly moving clear and showing fantastic strength and ability to recover after that effort in the Galibier on Sunday. He's on great form indeed, Visconti. Absolutely races across the gap, so he's going to get up to them well before the summit. The summit should be about 17 kilometres to go. We've got to make an addition to alteration to our road book, of course, because the roads were damaged, and as a result, tiny little detours have added about a kilometre to the stage length. Giovanni Visconti has a little look over his shoulder and realises that he has managed to make the juncture and with a gap on the peloton. So now the gradient is starting to ease a little. Where is Mark Cavendish? Pelazzotti is there. Vincenzo Nibali is there, of course, right to the fore. Tanel Kangert, as he has done so much in this Giro, is pacing his team leader to the front. And these riders can't have much more than 15 seconds, maybe 20 seconds over the bunch behind. Visconti can't see them. They're around the other hairpin. Well, if he can't see them, then they can't see him, and they couldn't until just that moment. Visconti, though, is the one with the strength. Takes a little wheel of the out again, and Rubiano it is that has to cover the gap because De Luca doesn't quite have it. And attacks coming from behind. Was that Sella? Visconti pushing for the top. Rubiano still has strength. What impressive effort from Rubiano. Danilo De Luca digs in to try and stay with them to the top. And it's Lampre that are organising things at the front, with Niemitz followed in turn by Scarponi, 5th and 4th on general classification respectively. De Luca is cracked in the, well, he hasn't cracked yet, he's still pushing hard, but he's lost a significant amount of time now. Still very much on the hill, but the gradient's quite a bit easier, but that was a bad sign from De Luca. He looks behind himself to see if anyone's coming up. Visconti's absolutely flying. Niemitz on the front of the GC guys, and it's a small group. It's a very small group indeed. And Mark Cavendish should be quite a way off the back of this, you can be sure. The Lampre are setting a big pace, but no sign of any attacks, no sign of any interest, perhaps with the time trial tomorrow and the two big mountain stages coming a couple of days after that, Sean. They're less interested, they're more about saving energy for that.
Yes, I think the big favourites, they don't see any opportunity to gain any advantage, and they're prepared just to sit there and leave the Lampres set the pace here. It's somebody more further down in general, like example Betancourt. We've seen him attack a lot, but I don't think it's going to be difficult enough for him now, because we're into the section where it's easing off as we get closer to the summit of this one. So I don't see an opportunity for anybody really to put in a big attack just before the summit. It's always possible that somebody might say, well, if I go on the final 500-600 metres, take a small advantage and really make a good downhill and try and get across to the breakaway, because we see Visconti, he is pushing on. He's a fresher man, of course, coming out of the peloton, and not surprised that he put De Luca under difficulty. He had been out a bit further on the climb, went out a bit earlier, and Rubiano, we can see a lot of movement on the bike here. He's really suffering to hold the wheel of Visconti for the moment.
Yeah, still very impressive by Rubiano as the man who'd been out there since kilometre 6 to be able to stay with Visconti when he surged ahead again, and De Luca is sitting in no man's land as they head towards the top. Visconti goes, he's trying to shift Rubiano before they get to the descent. Has a little look behind, realises he's got a gap, and Rubiano cracks. So Visconti moves ahead and he'll take the mountains points, but he won't be thinking about that. He'll be thinking about, could it be another solo victory? Well, he had 21 seconds last time we got a time check. De Luca is back in the group. Now it hasn't worked again for the self-styled killer. And he looks over his shoulder and sees the massed ranks of general classification contenders and the odd sprint pretender. Massive crowd on the Crosara as they cheer the local man, Visconti. Well, he's not that local, of course, he's from Sicily. To this racing in Tuscany. And Visconti is pressing on, manages to grab a bottle. How much of that bottle will he need with just 16 kilometres left? Maybe the little bit of extra weight will drag him down the hill.
17 seconds for Rubiano on the top there, so he's lost in a couple of 100 metres. You know, he's lost a lot of time, but we could see that Visconti could feel he was in difficulty as the peloton comes over at 32 seconds.
Siutsu at the back of the group for the Sky team. Asanza, who we saw in the attack a few days ago, is there for Euskaltel. Oh, and we'd like a time check now, but the old GPS signal is tough to get in amongst the trees. It's just under half a minute. It's a racer's chance. He might need a little bit more than that, but a technical descent will be to his advantage. Can he move it out a little bit? Giovanni Visconti pushing hard again for a second stage win in the Giro d'Italia to go with that wonderful victory on the Galibier, and giving Movistar an opportunity to go for 3 in a row. With Alex Dowsett's victory in the time trial to go with the last 2 days, that would make it 4 wins if Visconti could hang on, but well, it's going to be a big ask indeed. 30 seconds his advantage. It goes up again a little bit. He's on the descent. Got about 8 kilometres of downhill roads, then a flat 8 kilometres. He's going to need all of that and more by the time he gets to the flat. K to go for our lone attacker, Giovanni Visconti, as Astana tried to put manners on the peloton. Lampre Merida set the pace to the top of the hill. Now it's Astana. Ventoso there, nicely placed for the Movistar team, and I tell you what, if Visconti can't do it, Ventoso could well be a man to watch for.
Yes, he's certainly very much up there in this position, you know, very comfortable to be in the top end in the third position. And when you look at this group, and not a lot of sprinters left in this group, we could see, I think Feline seems to be in there a flash. We got just before the summit, he seemed to be still hanging on there, but Ventoso is a one who can get all this sort of climbs, and of course in a smaller group sprint, 30-40 riders, he is a real, you know, potential stage victory in a situation like that.
A couple of Bardiani men in there as well. Could one of them be Sasha Modolo? Meanwhile, the Omega Pharma Quick Step train is thundering along, trying to get Mark Cavendish back into contention. Now, what's the gap? Cavendish sitting there fibbing. Is that on their tail? It's Cone de Court, I think, from Argus, the big man from Argus Shimano, on the wheel of Mark Cavendish, and 4 Omega Pharma Quick Step riders desperate to try and get Mark Cavendish back into contention. 13.5 kilometres for the front riders, and they've lost a minute. Well, that's going to be tough to get a minute back in 13.4 kilometres. They're going to chase on for a while, but this could be difficult for Mark Cavendish at this point. Could well be a bridge too far. What he said it was going to be tough, but the Omega Pharma Quick Step team set the pace for much of the day in the belief that Mark Cavendish could conceivably get through. Now Visconti makes a little bit of an adjustment on turn in there. 13 kilometres to go. These are rough little roads. Get your braking point wrong and you could be bounced out into the Armco barrier on the right hand side. Rubiano chases alone, still ahead of the bunch, and he'll be rueing the fact that he just didn't have enough strength to stay with Visconti. A lot of daylight between himself and Visconti, so it's going to be tough for Rubiano, bearing in mind he's been out there all day to get back to the Italian. And he's mopped up by the peloton, led by Bardiani Valvoli, with plenty of motivation, because I think Sasha Modolo could well have made it over the top of that hill. 34 seconds, the advantage rises for Visconti. How much time will he have by the time the road flattens out? Tanel Kangert paces Vincenzo Nibali. That's the white jersey, followed by the Maglia Rosa, the pink jersey of race leader Nibali. And it's the darker colours altogether of the Movistar team, represented by Giovanni Visconti. As he hits a little bit of smooth road for the first time in a while, not too much of it. Closed a couple of seconds, but it's absolute, total and utter commitment at this moment. So we see the neutral service car pulled into the right there. Only a little bit of space that they could possibly do it. And they're going to put neutral in behind Visconti. Shouldn't be too much difficulty to get them ahead once they hit to the flat road. Rubiano is mopped up by the main group. And what's going through Visconti's mind at the moment is going out. The twin, it's disappeared favourites that should contest the race win today, the stage win, unless of course Visconti manages to hang out ahead. What's going through his mind at the moment, Sean? You've been in this situation in Milan-San Remo, chasing down off the Poggio. The lone rider has a bit of an advantage.
Yes, well, you have the advantage, and if you know the descent a bit, and that is very important here, because we can see it's, you know, total commitment, giving it 100%, and Visconti is descending very well. Problem being, we can see now as they come out here, take a left, it's flattening out quite a lot, and Visconti is in this section. We're still with 10 kilometres to go. It goes down another bit, but in the final 8 kilometres it's pretty much total flat, and that's going to be the difficult one for Visconti to hold off on his own. We can see the Bardiani team are chasing, so when you have a team like that or commission, they feel they have somebody who can win in the sprint. It's so difficult to hold on out front alone.
So Giovanni Visconti takes every tiny little bit of shelter he can get from one motorbike across to the other. Most of it is psychological, I can assure you. Bardiani Valvoli are chasing hard. They obviously feel they've got a strong chance of success. We see Radio Shack are also represented. Now, is that Nizzolo, who you'd be surprised if he made it over? Could it be Hondo? Now a little stall in the group. That's good news for Visconti. Good news too for Astana, who decide to go on the attack. We saw this the other day. It's Nibali is happy enough. Is it Grushev? Euskaltel. Could it be Samuel Sanchez? Visconti up front. Nizzolo, look, Nizzolo trying to close the gap. Mercato, who had high hopes of making it over with the group. And Nizzolo on a solo run to try and close gaps. So too is Visconti on a solo run, but he's the man out front with the advantage as we come off the descent and onto the flat roads towards the finish. His advantage less than half a minute. So now it's Kruijswijk. We haven't seen much of him since the Cavendish group have closed the gap a little bit, but well, it's over a minute, so it's not going to happen for them. Hey now is given an opportunity. So we've got Marco Mercato, Nizzolo of Radio Shack, Hey now of Sky Pro Cycling, And Mercato, of course, of Vacansoleil. Pressing on, 8 kilometres to go.
And Noli once again from Astana. And Astana seems to be more attacking on the front of the group than riding. And I suppose the reason being that they feel if they allow this one to come to a sprint finish, which Cat 11's possibly taking some of the bonification, but some in the sprint in the final. So
yeah, where's the advantage for Astana in dragging Cadel Evans up to sprint from a small group with the potential to take some time?
Yes, but they're not really dragging it up. They're just going in attack off the front, different riders going off, and that seems to be just to upset the group, not to control and keep the pace high on the front. And the only reason I can come to that they do not want to come together and allow to be a sprint, and where Cat 11's could take some very important time bonuses.
Going to be difficult for Visconti now. Fabio Fellini has managed to get over the hill with the group. He's got a good turn of pace, but he's decided to go out there solo. And Fellini has a little look around and realises the Bardiani are controlling it. Now, can Nizzolo get back into contention? In amongst the cars. It's going to be a bit difficult for them, and what sort of energy will they have left if they get there? Meanwhile, Visconti up front, maintaining this advantage, did increase it by a second as a result of a little stall at the end of that little flurry of activity. Now they all look around themselves again. There's another attack. Is it one of the Blanco riders? Could be Kruijswijk again.
Yes, and this is advantage to Visconti, of course. So it's not a team riding with 2 or 3 riders and sharing the pace, pulling on the front. There's a lot of attacks, then a slow down, another attack. And for Visconti, he's holding off quite well. 23 seconds at the moment, but still over 6 kilometres. And this flat run in is going to be the real test for him. It's going to be a big battle for him to hold on out there.
Well, we know that he's capable of suffering out front on his own, and he won't lack for motivation. Our confidence indeed after that stage success on Sunday. Movistar well represented. They've got Ventoso as well, who has a decent sprint as Euskaltel go on the attack. Asanza who's at the back of the group at the top of the hill for Euskaltel.
Pelazzotti.
Yeah, Pelazzotti,
and that tells us the group is not really going at a fast rate. When you see riders attacking like that, it tells that the pace has dropped off quite a bit, and we're back into the same as we see just moments ago. Attack, again, groups coming back, nobody prepared to ride on the front of the peloton, or the group, let's call it. It's not a peloton anymore, and keep the pace real high.
Okay, Asanza from Euskaltel in the orange colours, Pelazzotti in the Italian Road Race Champions colours of Androni Giocattoli. Meanwhile, Vincenzo Nibali is just staying safe in the middle of that group. Another attack, Saxo Tinkoff. And is that Ventoso to the fore? He's just trying to stay in the wheels and save it for later. Uran is there of the favourites, so he's safely ensconced. Little look behind from Visconti, and all this lack of cohesion amongst the group behind is doing Visconti a favour, because he grabs another second inside the final 5 kilometres. Could it possibly be that Giovanni Visconti will manage to do it? Well, he's in a world of pain at the moment, but he knows what he's got to do. He's been there before. Steals a little look over his shoulder. That won't do him any favours. A little bit of comfort though will be gained by the fact that he'll see the group is not on him at the moment. Sky now on the attack. And that one's by right overall at the moment. 24 seconds, the gap has gone out. He's a study in power, isn't he? Looks controlled on the bike. Compact style. He's not a tall rider, obviously. And riders getting back up there. Talon Kangert, who's involved in the final shake-up yesterday. Looks like he's cracked. And he's going to need someone else to close that gap, perhaps. Now, is that Micah that gives a little shake of his elbow to ask for a little bit of help? Kreuzvik pushing on now. 24 seconds to the good. Don't look over your shoulder, Giovanni. Just pile it onto the line. 3.5 kilometres left.
I'm guessing once again very active in this group of chasers.
He was so unfortunate yesterday with his chain falling off within 3 kilometres of the line, and that would have given him a great opportunity of taking a much needed stage success and a much needed boost in confidence after his difficulties in the mountains in the previous days. So Rafael Micah is piling it on because he sees they've established a little bit of an advantage. This group is getting bigger. I wonder, has Nizzolo managed to get in there? Visconti, though, now 20 seconds. So he lost 4 seconds in that half a kilometre as a result of that massive turn by those 4 riders. Rafael Micah was one of them. Inside the final 3 kilometres for our lone attacker, Giovanni Visconti of the Movistar team. It's a large group of riders, but not a terribly well organised one, as the attacks come now from Lampre Merida. Bardiani also on the attack. Who have they got up there? Pozzovivo's managed to hang on in amongst the leaders group. Française de Jure, who've had a very difficult race. They've only 5 riders left in the race. Could they be on for some stage success today? So 3 riders with a small gap. 20 seconds for Visconti. Francis Moret has managed to tag on, but they've been closed down by BMC.
And we're into the technical section. The final number of kilometres does get technical. Inside the 2 kilometres to go, that's where it gets very technical, and there's quite a few very technical corners. So for Visconti, that could be an advantage if team riding on the front. A little bit of a slowdown. As we see, 19 seconds, it looks like that he could hold on, unless there's a team who take it up in the very final here. He's in with a great chance of getting his second stage victory.
He gets it wrong, and he had to push to the absolute maximum. That's cost him a second or two. He didn't fall off, he's still there, but Giovanni Visconti, his heart will be in his mouth if it wasn't already. And well, that's interesting, because is that a technical problem for the man 7th overall, Carlos Betancourt? Inside 3 kilometres to go, and he's off his bike, so I think it is a technical problem. He won't lose any time as a result of that. Well inside the final 3 kilometres, Lampre Merida on the front. Argus Shimano are represented as well. 23 seconds, so he's gained a couple of seconds despite that little bit of but going in a little bit hot into that left-hander. Visconti looks behind himself again inside the final 1,200 metres. And Bardiani absolutely killing themselves to drag this one back. A big stall at the front of the group, because no one wants to take it up. No one wants to use that last bit of energy that would prevent themselves from recovering for the sprint. So this could be just what Giovanni Visconti needs. He's inside the final 1,000 metres. He looks over his shoulder and he sees that he's still got the advantage as he tries to take it all the way to the line. He's in Vicenza. He's on a Pinarello, and I do believe he's got Campagnolo equipment on there. The 80th anniversary of that equipment manufacturer, and Visconti spends as much time looking behind as he does ahead. He's inside the final 500 metres. You can't afford to ease up yet, but it's looking very good indeed for him to take his second stage victory of the race. Now it's taken up by the Blanco team. And Visconti has time to do it again. What an absolutely magic performance. Tagged at the perfect point on the climb, and through the final turn he sees the arrival point, and it just gets better and better for the Movistar team. Their 3rd win in successive days, their 4th win of the race, and Giovanni Visconti takes his 2nd stage victory of the Giro d'Italia. The man, 3 times Italian national road race champion, takes his 2nd victory, with victory in stage 17 of the Giro d'Italia. Who's going to get the sprint from the group? It matters not, because Visconti has taken a wonderful win, and it's looks like Luka Mezgec on the outside for Argus Shimano, but he's not going to get to. Oh, he thinks he's won the stage. Navardaskas for the second sprint, disappointed when he finds that Visconti has taken stage honour. So Navardaskas got back to the group only to find that there was someone out front.